Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem. My name is Brenna Norval, and I will be your celebrant today. Today we also welcome UUCS congregant Paul Wilson to the pulpit as our guest speaker. Welcome. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude. Taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. The house of laughter and silence, memory and hope, is hallowed by our presence together.
Our hymn today is "A Fierce Unrest." It's number 304 in the gray hymnal.
this is the mission of our faith, to teach the fragile part of hospitality, to revere both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to witness to all that we must hold the whole world in our hands. Let us join together now and say our affirmation. Love is our doctrine, compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration, build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Each week, we light 3 chalices. The first is for this congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem. We light our second chalice for our partner church in Šiman Falva, Transylvania, Romania. And we light our third chalice for our children and youth in lifespan religious education and in our world at large. Let us sing the flame to life.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
Hello and welcome to the Time for All Ages portion of the service. The story I'm going to tell you today is called David and Goliath by Christopher Buse, and it's from the UUA website. Once there was a little girl who worried about a very big problem: world hunger. She read in the newspaper about children all over the world who did not have enough to eat. She wanted to do something about it, but she was only a little girl, and this was a giant problem. What could she possibly do that would make a difference? One day, when she was feeling sad about the situation, she told her father what was on her mind. After listening to her problem, he was very quiet. Then he scratched his head and rubbed his chin. He cleaned his glasses with a handkerchief, and then he said, "Young lady, maybe it's time I told you the story of David and Goliath." David was a little boy who had a very big problem: Goliath. David lived in a land called Israel, and the Philistine soldiers were threatening to invade his country. The very biggest Philistine soldier was named Goliath, and he told the people of Israel, "If you can find one person who can beat me in a fight, then we won't invade your country." But there was no one in all of Israel who thought that they could beat Goliath. "He's much too tall and strong," the people said. "This problem is just too big for us. There's nothing we can do about it." David was surprised that no one would fight Goliath. So he went to the king of Israel and told him, "I will fight Goliath." The king looked down at the boy. He didn't want to send such a small fellow to fight such a big man. Because no one else had volunteered, he said to David, "I admire your courage, young man. I will give you the best armor in my kingdom." But when David put on the armor, he fell straight to the ground. After all, David was just a little guy, and the armor was very heavy. And so David said, "Thanks, but no thanks. I'll just use my slingshot." The king was surprised by the boy's courage, and he said, "Go forth, and may God be with you." David went out to the battlefield, and facing Goliath, he said, "I'm ready to fight." When Goliath saw this little guy standing before him, he began to laugh. You're only a little boy." He chuckled, and then he began to roar with laughter. While Goliath was laughing, David put a rock in his slingshot, and he twirled it around and let the rock fly. The rock hit Goliath in the head, and the giant came crashing down. David was a hero. "That's a great story, Dad," said the little girl, "but what does that have to do with me?" "David lived a long time ago," said her father, "but the world still has giant problems, like hunger, pollution, wars, and we can do something about it." Her dad got up from his chair and walked over to the couch and began tossing the cushions everywhere. "Dad, what are you doing?" she asked. "I'm looking for spare change. You know how it always falls down in the cushions? But why do you want spare change?" "I'm putting all my spare change into a box, and I'm going to give that money to a charity that helps to feed the hungry." "But what difference will that make?" asked the little girl. "Well, see for yourself," and he said as he lifted up the cushions, and what he saw gave her a surprise. Scattered underneath the cushions were dozens of coins. How they shined and glimmered. "Wow," she said, "I never realized how much money was in our couch." "It can add up," said her father. "The world has a giant problem, and too few think to throw stones that are close at hand. These coins could feed many or save a child's life, and if everyone used their coins to fight hunger, then we might just throw the stone that would send this giant problem crashing down." The little girl smiled, and then she got down on her knees, and together, father and daughter gathered coins from underneath the cushions. Thanks be, and may all beings be happy. Please join us for the Children and Family Service being held live via Zoom at 9:45 a.m. on Thursday evenings via Zoom at 5 p.m. for youth group, or on Easter Sunday outside here at UUCS from 2 to 3:30 p.m. for an Easter egg hunt and celebration. Registration information will be going out soon, so keep an eye out for it.
Compassion and gratitude. We have now passed the 1-year mark when our lives were upturned by the pandemic. So many things in our lives changed seemingly overnight. Whether we worked from home or went to school, how we held meetings and social gatherings, how and where we spent our money, how we spent the holidays, how we took care of our spiritual needs and engaged in religious community. So much changed. So much. It seemed the very purpose of our existence came into focus, and sometimes the sole purpose was to exist, to survive. It was easy to lose sight of purpose in life. So if you find you are a little weary, a little overwhelmed, if you are finding that the tears come more easily than before, it is all right. You have been through a lot this past year. It is all right. It is all right. Give yourself some compassionate thoughts, some nurturing. And when you see others maybe not reacting how you would wish, give them some compassionate thoughts. They have been through a lot this year too. We all have. We all deserve compassion. The days are growing longer. New buds are forming. Flowers are blooming. New baby animals are romping on the hillside. This is a wonderful time of year as everything seems to be waking up and showing how beautiful the world really is. The state of Oregon has so much natural beauty and wonder to be grateful for. The coast, the mountains, the gorge, the deserts, something for everyone and for every mood. This time of year reminds us to be grateful for life and all the living things, great and small, that exist in this world. Take the time daily to notice the blooming of spring and be grateful for the experience. Sometimes just enjoying the experience can be the very purpose you were looking for. Smile. Be grateful. Compassion and gratitude are our way. If you have joys or concerns that you want to share and have read during our live services, please visit our website and hit the Joys and Concerns button.
Our pastoral hymn today is "The Human Touch Can Light the Flame." It's number 307 in the gray hymnal.
The human touch can light the flame, which gives a brightness to the day. The Spirit uses more to flame life's vehicle for work and play. The lover's kiss, the friend's embrace, the clasp of hands to show we care, the light of welcome on the face, our treasured moments all can share. May all who come within our reach be kindled by our inner glow, not just in spirit's words we preach, in human touch life's faith we show.
This reading is from Alice Walker's book, We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For. A few days ago, I was in the presence of Sabanfu Some, a contemporary carrier of traditional ancient African lifeways. She taught us that in her culture, the most important thing that happens in a person's life is that they are welcomed when they are born. If they are not welcomed, all their lives they experience a feeling of not quite having arrived. There is anxiety, there is unease, there is fear. Some of you who attended my talk last year may recall the story of my own birth. The midwife and my grandmother were present in the room, but alas, they were busy chatting by the fireplace as my mother, overwhelmed with pain, fainted as I was being born. Several minutes passed before they knew what had happened. Was the fire going out? Were they busy, perhaps restoring it? I realized that even at this late date, I wish they had been beside, or better, on the bed, waiting to receive me, instead of halfway across the room. And I wish my mother had been conscious. I wish that even more after I witnessed a birth and saw a newborn being welcomed into its mother's arms, into the light of its father's smile, and into its own community. I have experienced many difficulties and hardships in my life, and yet despair is a state in which I cannot remain for long. This is largely because despair cannot share the same space as wonder, and it is wonder I have had since childhood, and in abundance. From the moments I saw that a plum grew out of a brown-colored, dry-looking branch, and a watermelon came from a green stem attached to a plant rooted in the dark earth, heaven, as described by the pastor of our church, somewhere beyond earth, became irrelevant. I was already in the only heaven that mattered to me, and I knew it. The sense of the magic of nature has encouraged all of my environmental understanding and activism. It is the reason I believe that all of our children, whether 2 years old or 40, should be encouraged to really look at what they are seeing every day. Incredible improbabilities, miracles, plums, watermelons, tulips, turnips, that are on our planet, that radiant blue orb, exceedingly ordinary, though obviously divine.
Good morning. Good to see you this morning. Some speakers start their presentations with a question. It's kind of designed to get people's attention, shock, awe, emotional, some kind of a hook. This is a peaceful Sunday morning, the second day of spring. I'm talking with friends who've overcome the challenges of a whole year of pandemic, and who seem to prefer questions and discussion over shock and awe. My question today, the second day of spring, is what if I had a purpose in life? How about a purpose, a plan, a potential for success, enough determination and youthful energy to overcome formidable obstacles and achieve that purpose? What if today I was a high school senior with all of those attributes, but without the preferred pigmentation, the supported peers, the economic resources, or the family backing to refine those attributes, to achieve my goals, to fulfill my purpose in life? What if today I woke up, as I did this morning, in the middle of my 74th year, a senior citizen, a seasoned senior citizen? That's kind of scary to think about. Knowing that some grand purpose I'd once designed for myself, was now beyond my reach. How many of those years did I spend procrastinating and asking, what if? What if my most spectacular achievements were the blisters and calluses I got from wringing my hands? Done that a lot. I remember as a teenager watching and occasionally listening to my father, who was only a few years younger than I am now. He seemed to relive and regret some of the choices he'd made and the habits he'd acquired. Maybe that's why he did the best he could to support my erratic behavior and unfocused development. As a youngster, I hated skirmishes with bullies, battles with peers, but at home, I always felt loved and supported. I knew the sun would rise the next day, and I knew I'd get another chance. What if today I had another chance, an opportunity to realize a new purpose in my life? Once each spring, I get to help evaluate applications for the Nellie Thompson Dorothy Patch Scholarship Fund. Through that process, I've come to know some senior high school students whose purpose, plans, determination, potential, and energy can give me that second chance, if only from a distance. Our late former mayor, Mike Swaim, was a founding member of that fund and the treasurer of the board until his death, until in late December 2019. He asked me to join that board in 2010. Since its inception in 1994, the Nellie Thompson Dorothy Patch Scholarship Fund has helped students of color in the Salem Kaiser and Chemawa Indian School achieve their dreams to go to college or trade school. With the community's help, it's given scholarships totaling over $200,000 to more than 275 young people. All Thompson Patch scholars have overcome major obstacles in their lives. They're resilient, they're passionate, they're driven to serve others, and they know that education is the key to their future. This year we have 32 applicants and expect to award 20 small scholarships totaling about $18,000. One of this group, his name is Jansen. He's half African American and half Lakota. He's grown up in North Dakota. He's enrolled at Chemawa Indian School. He's currently taking his classes online from Grand Rapids. He writes, "Most of my life I've been in poverty. In Rapid City is so judgmental. My own town is divided by color. Like at our Walmart, a full line of white people are able to come out of the store. But me, I was forced to show my receipt and all the stuff I had bought, and I had to empty my pockets so they could see I didn't steal anything. I've dealt with many challenges involving just being me, and my family discriminated due to the color of my skin, and many of my people starving and homeless. I wish to pursue further education so that I can do something with my life and hopefully become successful enough to help those around me with jobs or donations. I want to become part of something bigger than myself. I want to have a purpose in life." In his reference letter, Jansen's teacher writes, excuse me, "Like many students during the pandemic, Jansen has had his share of feeling isolated and alone. He's made the best of circumstances by remaining positive. It's a particularly difficult time when our students live in places away from their classmates. Jansen has projected a positive attitude and has worked hard to focus on his future. In that way, he's focused on the challenges and moved forward." As if racial discrimination wasn't enough, most of the Chemawa Indian School students, the applicants for the scholarship fund at least, have come from reservation homes broken by addiction to drugs and alcohol. Boarding school, with all of its historic issues around the destruction of native culture and language, has given them a second chance. They can look back, they can look forward, they can decide what to do with their lives. Ned is another Chemawa student in this year's graduating class. He writes, "I'm a senior in high school. I'm pursuing higher education because I want more opportunities in life. Since I was a child, I've encountered many hardships. I come from a family, a family of addicts and alcoholics. My mother died in 2016 because she drank and did drugs to the point where her liver couldn't handle it anymore. I was only 11 years old when it happened. Ever since then, I've lost even more family members. After my mom died, I went to live with my grandma. And it didn't get much better after that because she drank every day. Ned's faculty reference backs up that story. And he says, Ned grew up quickly and worked hard to support his siblings. Through it all, he's maintained his joy for life and he's continued his education. Ned has seen some options. He's gotten excellent advice, counseling from the staff at Shimawa. He's ready to go. He says, all my life, I've tried to do my best in school to get off the reservation, to get a degree, so I could go back to the reservation and make it a better place for kids like me. What he needs now is a boost on his way to fulfilling his dream of becoming a building contractor. It's really saddening to read the backstories of these kids, but it's hugely uplifting to learn they have a purpose, a plan, a real potential for success, and determination and energy to overcome formidable obstacles to achieve that purpose. One of our 2019 recipients from McKay High School was Yulissa Marcos Cristobal. Her initial plan was to go into nursing. On her application, she wrote, over time, I've learned and experienced what being undocumented means. Being undocumented has been both challenging and exhausting, especially in the college process. Like when applying for scholarships, I met all the criteria except citizenship. Though it's been a challenge, it's made me resilient. I have and will continue to work twice as hard to further my education by looking for resources and making connections, not giving up. In answer to the question on the application, what does pursuing education or training after high school mean to you? She wrote, going to college means that all my stress and effort and my parents' sacrifice have been worth it. A higher education means new doors will open, socially and financially, for myself and my family. With a higher education, like a bachelor's in nursing, I'll have even more opportunities to contribute to my community. One of Ulysses' faculty members wrote this in reference to her. Ulysses' determination to enter the healthcare field stems from some early experiences in her life when she witnessed firsthand the very limited and often obstructed access to important health care for her family. She's turned this experience into a real desire to give back to her family and her community. She sees the very real need for increased Latinx representation in the healthcare field, and she's determined to be a face for patients of color who often don't see themselves represented in their healthcare providers. Because Yulissa wasn't born here, she's had to work harder and smarter to access the resources that documented students often take for granted. She wants to be a difference maker, a role model, a leader. In fact, she already is all of those things. She just needs the opportunity and the resources to be those things on a college campus. Wherever she lands, she'll be a positive contributor and an important voice in that community. I interviewed her again last week. This year, Yulissa will be a junior at George Fox College. Her new academic goals changed a little bit. Now she wants to go into medical administration, still related to nursing, and still a huge need out there. At its earliest stages, our instinctive purpose involves survival skills, learning the basics of behavior, language, culture. I was so fortunate myself. I was born at the right time to parents who were of the majority race in a country that seemed full of opportunity. I didn't develop a deep-seated need to give back to or to improve a community that was really pretty cushy for myself and most of my friends. But then I never had to deal with the obstacles described by our scholarship applicants. Sometime when I was a teenager, I decided my purpose in life was to get out of the house, to go explore the world without being a drag on my parents' income. I explored a few dead-end jobs, traveled a little bit. I was also fortunate, so fortunate, to meet and sometimes listen to people who had survived wars, economic depression, destitution, triumph, panic, PTSD, addiction, recovery, inspiration, confusion, on and on. A whole lot of flailing around out there. The folks that I met that made the most impression on me were those who had learned to overcome diversity. Hard times, it's a big deal. I said diversity, I mean adversity. These folks had purpose beyond their personal needs, and they each appeared in my life at exactly the right time with the exact resources I needed to help me keep moving forward. My purpose in life expanded hugely and became a lot more serious after the birth of my daughter. Now, it meant having a more stable source of income, a more stable home, learning to be a father well before I was ready to stop exploring the known universe. As what used to be called a late bloomer, I went back to college, then to trade school. Then I burrowed my way into the real world and became a project engineer somewhere below middle management in an aerospace company. I succeeded with huge help from others. For Jason, Ned, Yulissa, and the other successful applicants to our scholarship, their purpose is to become self-sufficient and to give back to their communities. I'm so grateful to have made it to this stage of life, and my current purpose is to listen, to contribute some time and a few dollars, and to encourage others to use their energy, their determination, their potential for success, to overcome obstacles, and serve the needs of our world. Blessed be.
Let us take a moment to relax and catch our breath. Let us bring our focus here, to this room, to this group of people, and to this moment. We bring a myriad of talents, ideas, needs, and styles. Yet within this diversity, there is a common bond between us. We love this fellowship, and we are willing to work together to improve and strengthen this community of ours and our lives. We support UUCS through our pledges, time, and connections with one another. We support the Salem community through donations to the Marion Polk Food Share, and for the month of March, Latinos Unidos Siempre, or LUS. LUS mission is to work towards the educational, cultural, social, and political development of Latino youth by empowering youth to take leadership roles in the community, advocating for social and political change, and combating racist stereotyping and discrimination through grassroots organizing. Please send your checks to UUCS or visit the website for how to donate. Thank you for maintaining the community of UUCS and for helping the wider community of Salem. We take the light from our chalice, lighting the social justice lantern, as a symbolic reminder of the light and justice that we carry out into the world. As we extinguish the chalices, let us hear these words from Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for one another. Our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues until we are together again, friends. Be strong, be well, be true, be loving. Blessed be. Don't forget after the service to go to our Zoom fellowship gathering, beginning at 12 p.m. after Sunday services. Don't forget to fill out your pledge, your estimate of giving. The deadline has been extended. News of the community. Diversity Without Division is a book study webinar, will last 6 weeks at 6 p.m., starts April 14th. Family Promise goes from April 4th to April 10th. And social justice team meetings have now begun via Zoom.
Our closing hymn today is Where My Free Spirit Onward Leads. It's number 324 in the gray hymnal.
Where my free spirit onward leads, well, there shall be my way. By my own light illumined, I've journeyed night and day. My age a time-worn cloak I wear, as once I wore my youth. I celebrate life's mystery, I celebrate death's truth. My family is not confined to mother, mate, and child, but it includes all creatures, be they tame or be they wild. My family upon this earth includes all living things, on land or in the ocean deep, or borne aloft on wings. The ever-spinning universe, well, there shall be my home. I sing and spin within it, as through this life I roam. Eternity is hard to ken, and harder still is this. A human life, when truly seen, is briefer than a kiss.
Let us imagine joining hands with our community members, guests, family, and friends, saying these words. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come. Blessed be.